Alright. So you're gonna have to ignore my shitty handwriting.
All good, don't
You're fine.
I'm not a calligraphy artist either, so don't feel bad.
worry.
Alright. Oh, shit just fell off on my desk. 1 second. Okay, we're good. Alright, so... Basically, when you're playing Rocket League, you want to have some sort of triangle going, right? Because since there's 3 of you, there's always going to be some sort of triangle, and so you just have to figure out how to position that to be the best on offense and defense.
Okay.
So the way that I learned how to rotate with is to kind of make these sort of shapes on offense and defense. Greg likes to call it the good Dorito because it kind of looks like a Dorito. But basically, you always want somebody challenging the ball when you're on defense. You always want somebody at the near post in case they get a quick shot past the guy that's challenging. And then you want somebody covering the back post. But you also want them to be close enough to where they can cover a pass mid. Because if you have them here, which is where a lot of people end up playing, if he gets a pass mid, there's no way you're cutting that off. You're basically hoping that this guy can make a reaction save, right?
Makes sense.
That's 1 more 3. So yeah, basically, this isn't like a static positions. You don't want to like freeze here or anything like that, right? It's like if you took a picture of a game, this would be like a perfect scenario. You'd have somebody challenging somebody guarding the near post net, and then somebody kind of watching the back post. And this guy also, you want him generally facing this way,
Okay.
kind of, so that he can. So the ball goes off the backboard, he can jump up and get it, or he can cover a shot far post, or he can turn up and cut off like a pass.
Okay.
There. Because if you have him facing upwards, it's really hard to turn around if the ball goes off the backboard, especially. Because then you're basically just as bad as the guy that's in net trying to read it.
Makes sense.
So basically the most important person on defense is your third man here. And he has to decide whether he needs to like cut across mid to stop the pass, or if he needs to go on backboard to if the guy starts like rolling it up the backboard or something like that. And since you can see the whole like field, you can also kind of help comm to your teammates a little bit better than like either of these 2 people can.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mess up here, it's a lot worse than if either of these guys mess up, because both of those people have somebody to cover them, right? To kind of like, in essence, this person's going to rotate this way, this one's going to rotate this way, and then this person's going to rotate around this way.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is also important, rotating as when you're this person, after you make the challenge, you don't want to go back this way, because you'll end up bumping into this person, or you'll make them freeze or hesitate or something, because you're going to confuse them. And if they end up challenging, even if you don't confuse them, now this person has to come and cover the near post. I have a whole bunch of lines on here. Hold on. This person has to cover the near post, and you're on the backboard, and then so if they get a pass mid, there's like nobody covering that whole area there. And so as the one after you make the challenge, you want to try to come here and either like grab this boost and kind of come back, or grab a few of these pads and then come back. But if you can spare not going to that boost, it's better because you stay in the play more and you can grab a few pads and you can kind of stay here. And you want to kind of keep your ball come on and pay attention. So if you need to like make a quick turn and challenge, you can, because you have a lot more freedom being there. And once you get over here, you have to be a lot more decisive, I guess, is the right word.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so basically that's like the general defensive rotation. And it's basically the same thing on offense. You have one person pushing the ball forward, not necessarily challenging. You have one person waiting for a pass mid, and then you have somebody covering in case you get the ball, in case your one gets beat and it comes back that way. And it's also the same, like, so this person is also like the most important person here, because if you get a hit over your head, you are basically giving them an open net, more or less, or forcing you to make a really weird play where you read it off the backboard and have to hit it and hope that your teammates can get back. So when you're playing third man on offense, your most important job is to not let the ball get over your head at all costs, basically. So it's tempting to kind of push up and help in case the ball comes back out this way rather than coming cross more for this guy, which is what you do need to do. Sometimes you just have to read it and be careful when you do that, because if you do that and either you don't communicate it or you do it at the wrong time, all three you're going to end up in like a little line here where there's no depth, and if the ball gets hit over you guys, you're screwed. So you have to kind of read the whole play and figure out whether you need to be farther back. If they can get a big clear, you can kind of scoot up and get closer, because you know that there's going to be like a small 50 or something like that you can challenge or read off the wall that's like a near post bounce. And as the two here, you're just trying to be in a good enough spot to be there for a pass. And honestly, you can even be... You don't want to be too far away, because then you're going to end up like just dropping the ball in the middle of the field, and the other team's going to be able to quickly like counterattack. But if you know that your guy on the ball can pass it far, it's sometimes better to be like even way over here, because you have the whole net to shoot at, kind of like that. So if the ball comes across here, you can shoot it easier than you can if you're like jumping straight up here, kind of thing. You have to kind of like backwards hit it almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all situational, obviously, but and after, so the the ideal rotation on offense is you have the guy pushing the ball and he gets a 50 or something, and then he kind of rotates either through to grab their boost, try to demo, or something like that, and then kind of comes around and becomes the 2 here. Your 3 is going to push up because it was a 50 or something like that, and so the ball's over here. And so you're coming up to challenge that, and then this person kind of rotates back and becomes the new third man. And so,
yep.
Which is also like, so when you're the second man over here, you have to make sure that you actually rotate back when you see your third man going forward, so that you have somebody back. Unless you can get a perfect pass off to you, because you can kind of stay here and they're demoing and you can get a quick pass. There's a lot of lines. Hold on. So like, say this guy goes through and he's over here and he's like trying to demo somebody. It can be a good play to pass mid and have your guy stay here and shoot it. You just have to be really careful, because if you're passing from between the third and the second man, if they read it quick enough, you're completely wide open, right?
Mm-hmm.
So generally, you want to avoid passing between the last two people back. You want to try, like, if you're gonna do something, you want to like have your guy hit it off the backboard and then you read it, because then at least this guy has some time to get back. Rather than just passing it mid and getting it cut off like that. So okay, so then just going back real quick to defense. When you're transitioning from defense to offense, the whole idea of having, on top of it being a good spot to be in these spots for defense, is that say you win possession here as the one and you're pushing it forward, and now they're rotating back trying to get back posts and set up their defense. This person is a lot better positioned to turn into the two than this guy is, because a lot of times what happens, especially like in ranked, this person will go up here kind of following and then try to cut here and be mid,
That makes
whereas
sense.
your back post
Yeah.
kind of comes around back here and does that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end up, it's not bad, to be fair. It's not ideal in my opinion, but it works. It can work. You just doing that, you end up with all three of you basically on that side of the field and no presence on the other side. And a lot of times this person is too close to the one to do much more than the one already could with it. So
Makes sense.
if you instead, like, so this guy's facing this way, so if he comes around and turns up field this way as this guy's pushing it up, and then this guy kind of moves up here and becomes the three, you kind of have that new triangle that is what they have here a lot quicker than if you were to like rotate like that and have this person come back here.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So any questions about that?
I have one. I
Yeah.
just want to go over like a scenario.
Yeah.
So let's say the one's 50 and the ball pops mid.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 and 2, both second mans are gonna push for 50. You get what I'm
Like
saying?
here?
Yeah. So like imagine like yeah, exactly. So now that one's person, from where one would be after that 50, where would they rotate? Because I know 3 would come close post and 2 would push out for the 50.
You still want to rotate this way.
You still want one to come mid and back around to be the third man.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And honestly, depending on, a lot of times this person won't be the one to challenge, it'll be this guy, because it's,
So 2 will rotate and go back 3. 3 will come 2.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Or they'll just stay there a lot of time because they're not paying attention to whether they should be on defense or not. But because if this guy goes, they're going to go here too a lot, and you can get a lot of double commits like that.
Right.
Same here, because this, especially if you're watching a potential hit mid, it's really easy for you to like
Want to go and get it. Right.
want to go right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing you have to watch out for being here, is knowing when it's your near post guy's ball and when it's your ball.
Right, because then if you go,
That makes-
everybody in one quadrant.
And a lot of the time, if it just bounces here, you can go again as the one. You can kind of
Yeah,
try to
right.
50 it again.
Right.
It's more so if the ball, and ideally you want to avoid having the ball go mid at all. So
Right.
when you take a challenge, you want to kind of angle your car that way
Right. To either
almost,
keep it
so that the
Second
ball
base.
will go this way
and then
rather
keep
than
it
it popping
up.
mid. Because if it pops mid, you're basically betting on your third man being faster than their guy,
Right.
and that's like a last resort. But you
Right.
have to be there in case that happens, because it does happen a lot.
Right, but if it does go wall, then they can continue. The
Then
trend.
you can
Two goes,
you can
two
go
comes.
here. It's a lot smoother of a rotation too if it goes that way, because then you
Right.
Okay.
you have that kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Keep hitting the wrong button. I was gonna say.
I remembered them because they're alphabetical.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably think of it later. But oh yes. Okay, so technically anywhere, but it's more important on offense. In order to keep pressure and stay on offense longer, it's really important to not go for the big pads a lot,
Boost drills.
especially your back ones, because it puts you really far to the play. So, like, say you challenge that, and then you okay, let me back up a little bit. So on offense and on defense, I guess, because it when you're rotating, like you said, so when it goes here, if it goes like mid like that, it's a little bit different, because then you don't really want that guy coming
Right.
this way. If it goes far enough mid,
Right.
you kind of want him either, if you think you're going to win, you're going to push up here and wait for like a pass,
Right.
or that's when you can rotate back this way.
Right.
So when you're rotating, you just want to rotate back in the spot that's going to least confuse your teammates. So
You kind of want to keep yourself away from everybody, almost,
yeah,
Oh yeah, they look
but
great.
still close enough to be involved in a play
if it was to develop.
yeah, right. So it's easier to show on offense. So say you 50 the ball here, you don't want to go straight back this way, because your guy's going to be coming up to take another 50,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in that case, you want to go this way, and then this guy will come this way. But say you 50 it or beat him, and it goes off like that, you don't want to cut this way, because then this guy's going to be going for it, and then you're just going to be two people here. So in that case, you could even just stay there and wait for a drop, or like a rebound or something like that, or, which is actually more ideal. Actually, I'm not going to say or, but because if you do that, then it kind of like the play kind of like flips. So then this person turns into the 1, you turn into the 2, and this person just stays as the 3. He just kind of moves over here a little bit. Which is another thing. As the 3 on offense, your positioning depends on what's happening with the ball, and you generally want to be on the side that the ball's going to. So if you think that might lose the 50 or might just kind of stay here, you're going to want to stay over here. But if you think it's going to bounce this way, you want to kind of drift over here a little bit, so that if your guy misses, you can still take a shot or pass it to your guy that's going to be staying over there.
That makes sense.
But while you're doing that, so you're going to need to get boost at some point. Controlling these pads, I didn't do a good job of drawing over that, but basically, taking these pads and taking their boost rather than going back, even for your mid ones and especially your back ones, is really important to keeping pressure, especially the pads. Like, it's obvious that you want to take their corner because it starves them, but if you can't, but you still can grab like 2 or 3 pads, that's usually enough to
Kind of boost
do what
her.
you're going to do anyway,
Right.
even if you had like 100 boost.
Okay.
And so if you can kind of like get a few like paths going, like in your mind, where you take these 3 paths and you kind of rotate back, or you take, like, if you're rotating, let's say you have to rotate all the way back on defense rather than going all the way to this one and then rotating back post, or rotating through to mid, or whatever you want to do, you can take these pads and then you're in this spot but over here, right? A lot quicker than if you had to go here and then come back this way.
That makes sense.
And I feel like I'm just rambling, but when you're rotating back as third man, you're trying to you want to get back to help, but you don't want to like overcrowd, which is why you also don't want to be there, because then you're going to be basically doing the same thing that guy's doing. And so I wouldn't say like slowly, but you're going like, you don't have to be going supersonic coming back, and you don't really want to be flipping back because if you flip, you put yourself out of the play until you land.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
if you kind of like are just under supersonic, you can kind of read the play and then turn up field if you win the 50 here quicker. Or if you need boost, you can come back here. And if you need to grab this boost, I would say don't do this because it's kind of awkward. If you're gonna if you're gonna go up this way, I would do that to challenge or something like that rather than doing that kind of weird motion, because you want to
Okay.
try to maintain speed. And so if you're doing these kind of wiggles trying to get in the right spot, it's going to slow you down a lot more than if you just kind of do this or like trying to think of a way to explain it. But basically, you're just trying to stay as fluid as possible, so you can maintain speed. Because
That makes sense.
your 1 and 2 aren't. This guy's basically going to be sitting there at near post a lot of the time, and this guy, he's going to have some speed challenging the ball, but that's like about it. And so if you need to read a ball off the backboard or cut in, you don't want to be standstill here. You want to be moving in some way. And if you kind of do this, you're going to be slowing down. Then you have to like quickly cut that way. Whereas if you just kind of like do this sort of thing, it's going to make it a little bit awkward to read something like that. But it's
Probably better in the long run.
but yeah.
That makes
And also
sense.
when you're here, you can even go up on the backboard and cover like a hit like that.
Makes sense.
All right, anything else? I think that's pretty much it. I'll probably think of more stuff later, but that's fine. Anything else that you...
No?
No.
Okay.
I don't know, but I can think of no.
Okay, so let me switch over then to...
I think it's just going to take us getting in the late, sort of
Uh,
try to get used to that.
Let me know if this is working for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Okay. You're over here. Okay.
Oh, this is the game we did really well in.
Yeah.
Is it?
I gave him
First.
game 2 and game 4.
God bless.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. The game we like clap on ourselves. The game
Yeah.
we crapped up.
Yeah.
Let's just not talk about my kickoff there.
Huh?
I
What'd
was
you say?
just. Let's just not talk about my bad kickoff there.
No, I mean it's not that bad. I mean it's a little bit awkward, but here what I would say for K9, rather than
Turn out, turn back.
doing this, I would let Lapras rotate through and challenge,
Gotcha.
because he's gonna hit off the wall there, and have him rotate, because he kind of like, I don't know if you noticed, but he kind of like freezes a little bit, hesitates here, because he doesn't know whether you're gonna go or whether he needs to be going. And so if you weren't there, if you were going around behind him, he probably wouldn't slow down right there, right? And he
Right.
could probably have beaten Peach to the ball. And that way, when you do that, you don't confuse you if you go right like around
Right.
like that kind of way.
I probably actually would have been more beneficial to try to at least bumper demo the guy that was coming towards the ball, Kiko.
Yeah, that's
On
fine too.
rotation,
The other
yeah.
thing you could also have gone up that way, because then if you you could take a wider rotation, because then you could be there for a pass
Yeah,
if
if it came up,
Lapras
right.
cut it off quick enough, and then your other guy is rotating back perfectly fine.
Don't be up all night. I'm doing something with my team. Sorry.
So you see that's the kind of rotation that I'm talking about when with the guy that's behind the guy with the ball kind of goes up mid.
That
So
makes
here
sense,
it would be more ideal, in my opinion, for Lapras. I don't know if you had boost or not, but if you grab like those 3 pads or something like that,
Okay.
You can be mid. I mean, he's gonna get beat. Oh, actually, he doesn't get beat. I thought you were gonna get beat. But
I actually vaguely remember that.
yeah, you should have enough boost. Like if you turn around at that pad and go mid,
Okay.
you're in a lot better spot to receive a pass than
Than what Goose was.
than
Goose,
you are here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you probably could have. I mean, if would have had a chance to score that
Okay.
there, because the net's open.
Yeah.
Right.
Had you have been, rather than you're like backwards here, and so you have to make a weird turn. Like it looks like you end up scoring it anyway.
Yeah, we do.
And it was a good like recovery. You didn't go back for that corner boost.
Mhm.
You got forward quick enough, and you read the play that you. And on top of that, K9 got back and was on defense in case you missed it or something like that. So that was actually that was a good like recovery.
Okay.
And it's not the idea with rotating like this. It's not to do it perfectly every time.
Mhm.
It's just to be aware of it as much as possible and notice when you're
out of it.
in bad spots and figure out how to correct yourself as quickly as possible.
That makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
And so it's a lot of times the team that wins isn't necessarily the one that rotates the best. It's just the one that can compensate for their mistakes better than the other team can.
That makes sense.
Because
Yeah.
everybody's gonna nobody rotates perfectly every single game. I guarantee you there's never been a game that a team has rotated perfectly the entire game.
Mhm.
They're going to be in a bad spot here or there, but the reason that the pros are better than like a regular grand champ or anything like that is because that they can adapt to being in weirder spots and get back in better spots quicker than other people can.
Makes sense.
I think you could have. I don't know how much boost you had, but I think you could have challenged that earlier.
Make a
Like as soon as he hits that, especially because Peach flips. If you had turned for that as soon as he hit it, you could have beat him. It's a little bit risky if you do it immediately because you're last. But as soon as he hits it, you can see that. Yeah, you're beating him to that ball, and if you don't beat him, all he's going to do is hit it off the wall, and in which case your guys should be back in time. So if you had turned upfield, rather than kind of like hesitate a little bit, you could have gotten a lot better of a. You probably could have beaten him outright rather than getting a 50 that ended up
makes sense.
going back to your corner. Okay, well. So actually, that's another thing. A lot of times, what people do when they feel like they're panicking or they feel like they need to be on defense is they just rotate into net.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually most of the time it puts you in a worse spot. So if you're a third man like Lapras here, rather than just like flipping into net here, or just driving into net and then kind of turning around to figure out and then kind of like resetting after you do that, what can be better is if you kind of just like wait in the midfield area here, like just above your box,
Okay.
and kind of read what's happening, and
That makes
then
sense.
pick where you want to go, rather than going back. Because if you're here, first of all, you're kind of covering the same area that like the third man over here would be covering.
Yeah.
You're also not potentially putting yourself in like a double committing position where you could be going with the same person if you're in net, and you're also there for a pass mid. And I mean, you don't want to do it when there's nobody in net. Like if you're not last pack, you gotta have somebody in net.
Yeah.
If you're on defense. But if you see that there's already like both your teammates are in front of you, it's probably better for you to kind of hover around midfield rather than and resetting from there rather than going to net and then trying to put yourself in the right spot. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I think you had the right idea, K9, but you didn't have to come all the way over there,
Right.
all the way to like his side. And I mean, obviously, you didn't know the rotation that I'm talking about while you were doing this game, but you go in there. First of all, it puts all three of you on that right side of the field, and so there's nobody covering.
Right.
If the ball were to go over there, it'd be a longer.
Shouldn't I instead of rotating like straight back on that right wall, shouldn't I instead of kind of rotated on the left side using the pads and stuff like that, so take the left where the goalie is and then go behind K9? Sense?
You could have. I don't know if you got that boost or not, that corner boost.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
No, I don't think
But
so.
this is one of the situations where it's fine to rotate back on like the ball side because Lapras, you're not going to bump Lapras and you're not going to confuse him whether it's you going for the ball or not because he's already going there. And so, especially if K9 has boost, if you kind of come across mid, you and K9 are going to be in the same kind of spot. So if K9 has ball come on, he can. If you go back this way, he can see you. If you had boost, you can go across mid and then kind of turn around and be like here, looking towards the net and waiting for a pass.
That
And
makes
he would
sense.
see you do that, and so you could go back, and then K9 would go back here and play third man. But
Okay.
you rotating back this way isn't bad either, especially because you didn't get that boost. K9 just has to recognize that, or you have to calm that you're going back to play third man, and then he can turn and be mid rather than coming across and basically being in the same spot as you, because both of you turn at the exact same time, and then basically now if K9 gets beat, it's an open net because you're going to be rushing back and you're gonna have to make a play
Yeah,
to be able to get out of it.
that makes sense.
That was
That was that lucky ass goal.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
So this is kind of a situation where your third man is getting a little too close, like the whole time here.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the end of the world, especially if you know that they're not going to be able to beat him. It's hard for me to really tell from this far away, but if Peach beats him on the wall here, if he beats Goobs, he's hitting it over you like 100%. There's no way he's not hitting, unless he hits a really bad touch, or it's a 50 or something like that. Like, see here, you're. I mean, he got a weakish touch, and you didn't. You were back enough to where you could catch it, but if he hit that any harder, it was going over you, right?
Right.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good recovery that you had there. That was a good play too.
Oh, yeah, that was the nasty flicks.
Yeah.
I forgot about that too.
You carried that insanely well. Big this.
I'm messing up ball. So that's another like situation where I think you're getting a little too close. I mean, it makes sense that you're expecting him to hit it,
Okay.
but ideally you want this guy to be here that's going to read the pass anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're here as like a secondary
Okay.
attacker, and kind of and it's not. I mean, it's not the end of the world here either, because if I don't know if you were commenting that Kine was going back, but because he's going back, even though you get beat, you have somebody back already.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the general idea of rotating back behind him. You kind of take this path rather than kind of like coming around.
Okay.
And even though it seems a little counterintuitive because it takes longer to get back,
Mm-hmm.
in the long run, it gives you either more speed, and so you'll end up being faster to challenge the ball. And it also avoids potentially confusing K9, because like if you're coming back here, he doesn't know necessarily whether you might turn and cut,
Okay.
and it's not as bad here as if you were like right on top of the guy with the ball,
Yeah.
because then K9's going to freeze the whole way rather than challenging, and he needs to be.
Hold up. Someone's at my door.
challenging
You keep continuing. Someone's at my door. Sorry,
Okay.
give me a second.
You guys ended up scoring, so it's not bad, and it also helps that a lot of times what happens when you're on offense, when you score, it's either you made a really good play or it's because you forced them to be in bad spots, or they're just in bad spots. Like
Mhm.
they're rotating really poorly here, and even though you kind of are pushing up awkwardly, they don't really have a chance to do anything anyway. So it's hard. It's
Okay, Tyler.
ideally, I feel like you would want to stay back in case they get a weird touch and have it go back over K9. You want Lapras to be kind of over here,
Okay.
and he can be a lot closer because they're both backwards.
Yeah.
If they were facing that way, you want to be a little bit farther back because then they could hit it harder. But because they're backwards, you can be a lot closer
Okay.
behind K9, and then you want Goobs to be going up mid to do what Lapras just did here.
That makes sense.
And even if like, I think it would be better for Goobs because Goobs has a little bit better of a shot if Lapras were farther over here. But
Okay.
but yeah. So I don't know if you can really tell, but they're in a really bad spot here. They have, first of all, one person's rotating back on ball side. Why is there an explosion over there?
Demo.
K9 just respawned.
Oh, I was like, why are there 6 people on the map and there's an explosion? That was really confusing. So
Sorry about that, guys.
they have one
Fine.
person that's like completely out of the play, and they have one person rotating back on the same side as the ball, and so they have somebody coming across. So now these two people are either they have to have the best comms in the whole world, or they're going to double commit a little bit, or be really slow one or the other, and they kind of double. They might kind of do neither. They kind of go slow and then also double commit, which is even worse, I think.
Yeah.
Because now this guy has to get back, and he didn't need to be. He should have been in the net already. This guy's coming back on ball side, and all he's going to do is either demo you or hit the ball towards zone net or off the wall here, and then you are going to have a rebound opportunity. And so they're just entirely like unprepared for your offensive attack there.
Yeah.
And if you can notice that they're not in good spots, it'll help you know how to move forward. So, like here, you don't necessarily need to pass it to Lapras because there's nobody back there for them. So all you have to do is just beat him, rather than because if you tried to push it mid, you were probably gonna be a little bit slower, and Drax might have beaten you.
That makes sense.
And so now that you're here, if it was like a perfect world, you would have gotten like a doink here. And,
Yeah, that's
which
what I was
you were
going
trying
for.
to do.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's
Tough.
the right play to go for. I think you could have potentially caught it. You didn't need to jump because you had a lot
Okay.
of space, but it's not that big of a deal either. But now that you do that, they're awkward, right?
Yeah.
K9, I would say you want to face that way. You want to face towards the wall because they're going to push the ball that way.
Gotcha.
The ball's not going to go over here because if it does go over here, it's slow because Nico's in a bad spot and Goobs is already there anyway, and Peach is coming across to the left, so you want to be facing to the left so that if basically if Peach did what Goobs just did, you would have been there a little bit quicker. But it ended up working out perfectly fine here because you scored.
Oh, I
But reading when the other team is in like in an unbalanced spot or in a bad spot or anything like that can help you know when you can pressure more.
Okay.
Because sometimes what happens too is if you're pressuring all the time, you'll end up having games where you don't know how you lost because you had like 15 shots and the other team had like 4, but you lost 3-1.
Yeah.
And it's because you didn't know when to stop pressuring.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just constantly go and go and go, you're going to end up running out of boost or something, or they're going to get a clear, and then you're going to be in a bad spot. So
That makes sense.
you want to try to pressure enough to where you can keep the ball in their end and keep them low on boost. But if you see that you've kind of made like messed up a touch or given them the ball a little bit, it's not the end of the world, because if you challenge and you like force it, you make it worse. Whereas if you just kind of back up and reset yourself a little bit, grab some boost and wait for them to make the mistake, it puts you in a better spot in the long, because if they are pushing out and they have boost themselves, then you're in a lot better spot to defend than if you had just like committed 2 people to try to push the ball in because it was like they had just stayed in the goal line and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, we have to score now. Whereas it's not a race to see who can score first. You know,
Yep.
That makes sense.
you don't need to like force the issue if you have all the pressure.
Right. Oh, my controller is seen it.
No.
I'm just
Yeah.
turtle.
His controller cut too soon.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really good turn, Lepers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You waited. That's the ideal turn. It's not exactly the same position that I was like showing, but that's
Yeah.
like that's the pass mid that I'm talking about.
Okay.
And you're not sitting here is my point. You're
Yeah.
not, because if you were sitting here, they get a free shot.
Yep.
But because you're farther up net, you turn and he could have beaten you, but he's trying to fake. And if he beats you, he's putting it to your corner anyway,
Yeah.
unless he is insane at the game, and then in which case there's not much you can do anyway, because sometimes it happens. Sometimes they just make a good play,
Yeah.
but you have somebody back anyway. If he does get it past you, but you don't give him any time to really do anything. You force him to either hit it away from himself or try to fake you or take a 50. Whereas if you had been farther back, you would have given him like all the time to think about what he wanted to do to flick you or take a shot or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you did that, you turn the pressure on immediately, because K9 comes up and makes a really good like play. He sees that Peach isn't anywhere near them. He takes a good dribble, and you're perfectly centered for a pass, and Goobs is like is behind you. This is
Okay.
like the perfect scenario.
I
You
was
made
about
the
to say
perfect
that.
play on defense, and you're now like exactly positioned where you need to be on offense.
Nice.
And they triple commit, which is kind of unfortunate. But
Yeah.
you know, it's not going to work out every time. But that's the idea
Yeah.
of what you want to be doing, because it gives you so many options to do what you want to make.
Yeah.
To score, to keep pressure. Here you kind of get in a bad spot because it's a little awkward for Lapras, because I don't know how much you can really see there, or if you had ball cam on the whole time. But that's one of the spots where you have to read what's happening in the play and know that even though the ball's all the way over here, you being over here
Mhm.
is you're actually in a better spot than if you're here,
Okay.
because of the fact that they can, especially because K9 kind of hits it a little bit too far away from himself here.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, I would say you should like either freeze where you are, or kind of like make a little like loop and kind of come to this post, or go on, or see what's going to happen first, because you're pushing forward and he Peach beats you.
Yeah.
It puts you guys in a really awkward spot. You have to make a really tough read here. And then Goobs is has to either read your hit or read that you're missing
Yeah.
and do something with it. And so it just, you guys do well enough to keep from getting scored on, but that's like, it came from the fact that K9 hit it a little bit too far away, but the bigger issue was that I think Lapras, you pushed up a little bit too prematurely. You didn't read the play well enough.
Okay.
And Goobs, you're okay. I would say, because once you see he hits it a little bit far, you want to kind of like start rotating back, which is kind of what you do. But I think you could have done it a little bit quicker. Because the only reason you're there is to receive a pass and try to shoot, and if you see that your teammate's kind of giving it away or made a bad touch, you being there, if they have position, you being there isn't helping it at all. You have to be kind of like, you either have to be challenging something, which is if Lapras had stayed back, you could have like jumped across to challenge. You could have pushed up and challenged that way, which is, it does put you all on that side, but it's less awkward than Lapras pushing up, because at least you have somebody back, and you're playing speedy enough to have a constant pressure, or you can kind of come back quicker and then either be able to turn around and be there for a pass from Lapras, because if you're here, you can kind of jump and read it before it even hits the wall, or go up on the backboard and hit it off the wall, either so you can grab boost, or that you can hit it to Goobs, who would be ideally over in that spot. if that makes any sense.
Yep.
That was a good clear though.
Yeah.
You gave it away, but you gave it away in a spot where none of them were,
Right.
and that's. If you can't hit it to one of your teammates or you can't like dribble, you want to make sure that you clear it to a spot where it's at least going to make it a tough play for the other team
Mm-hmm.
to keep pressure. Just the ideal situation. See, it's not the end of the world for like this is the kind of rotation that happens a lot in ranks where the guy that's farther back ends up instead of Goobs turning around mid, he kind of pushes up, K9 pushes up and goes mid. But what ends up happening is what happened here. It leaves you're too close to him, and so I think you could have waited and scored that anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
yeah. I had the angle. I just didn't get the touch because it went off my ass. Like, it went off the back of my car. I had the angle. I just didn't get the right touch.
You're both
That's
now
why I'm
because
frustrated.
of that, because you're a little bit close to him. You're both in the exact same spot now, which on top of like you guys both being out of play and basically Goobs being the only one last back now. When you're rotating back, it's going to put you guys basically in the same rotation.
Yeah.
So you're going for the same boost that you end up getting demoed, but you're going for the same boost. It compounds the problem of getting back in a good rotation because you both aren't sure who's going to be like third and who's going to be second or something
Okay.
like that, right? That was a good pass too there. That was good positioning from K9 to not like K9 stayed upfield rather than rotating back, waiting for a pass, even though some people might think that you're not going to get there. But they read it really well, and Lapras, and because this wasn't a pass between the second and the third man, it was a pass between the second and the first and the second man.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lapras back there to cover and go for that one. So, or at least be back and be able to make a play like that, like you did. So that was a really good play there, even though it didn't work out.
Oh, that was where I was like ringing the fucking net.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Alright, this match isn't as good. This went
Yeah, you're
pretty
gonna have a
poorly.
lot to say in
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we're going over like a good one and a bad one though, because we're pointing out what we did good and we're pointing out what we did bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have pushed up there. Almost works.
Yeah, I don't know if K9 had boost or not. He might have. He got
Yeah,
the
he
boost
did.
there. So yeah, I think you could have stayed back. If you called it, if you let K9 know, because I can understand why you push up because it looks like K9's rotating back there,
Right.
and so he might be out of. Especially if you have ball cam on, you don't know if he turned around or not.
Right.
So I can understand why you're there. You just have to communicate. Yeah.
That makes sense.
One of you has to say either I'm left or I'm mid or something like that, and then the other
Makes
person
sense.
has to respect that and stay back. Because here, you both jump, and it's even though K9 doesn't go, which is better than if you were to go, because then you basically have triple committed there.
Right. That's what I
It's
realized
still
when
kind
I
of like a
backed up.
double commit because he has to land and he has to get back, and he's not in the best spot to continue the offensive pressure. So that was actually pretty good, like a defensive rotation here. I think Lapras, you went a little too quickly. What I would say, when you're challenging the ball on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
don't go on the wall first.
Okay.
Especially if it's low like that. It's a little bit different if it's like if it's high on
Yeah.
the wall somewhere. But if it's low like that, jump at the ball from the ground rather than going onto the wall and then jumping at it.
Okay.
When it's high, you can try to do something like where you kind of like wall pinch it or something like that. But if it's low, especially if he's right there,
Mm-hmm.
even if you read it and you hit the ball, he's gonna win that 50
Yeah. Okay.
because there's no way you're winning that 50 is basically what's happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless he messes it up. And whereas if you come and you're like, say you're here and you're hitting it like that way, there's no way he's winning that 50.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if he does, I mean, he wouldn't be there. He would be more like there. So he might win it, but it's
still going to be in corner.
a win for him is just going to like roll up slowly on the wall there,
Yeah.
you know, and then Goobs is here, which is, you did a really good rotation coming back this way, like you went to the opposite side to be there. And if if he did get the 50, you're there to quickly come and attack. But because you didn't get that touch, then now I don't know how you pronounce his name, Kieko?
Yeah, keep
Yeah. Something
Gets
like that.
a lot. He gets like an uncontested hit,
Yeah.
bounces mid, and now and then here K9, you're kind of like that. It's kind of, you have to make a. I would say K9, you should stay back and play like a third man mid here, and Lapras should go near post, just because that's the way that the positioning works out. But you cutting across like that, again, you didn't know I didn't talk to you before this game, but like, when you cut across like that, if this ball goes anywhere here, whether it's you hitting it there or them bouncing it or something, Lapras is backwards and Goobs is way over there, and so it's Lapras going to be pre-jumping for his life, basically, if the ball goes anywhere there.
Okay.
If they were smart, Kiko would have shot that. Kiko would have been closer and shot that. There's no reason for Kiko to be that far back because Traxxas is over there. Like, he could be that far back from here, but as soon as he sees that K9 is giving the ball away, or even Peach. I mean, Peach, instead of going back that way, I feel like I can see why they're there, but I feel like they could have scored that if they read the play a little bit better. That was actually really good. I thought you were going to mess it up, to be honest. I thought you got a little bit too greedy for the boost, and you were gonna mess up the catch. But you actually, whether you messed it up or not, you recovered quickly, which is the more important part. Which is like what I'm talking about when you, it's adapting to when things go wrong rather than trying to be perfect the whole time. So here's the mid pass that I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coming here, Lapras is going to challenge, and especially he gets the mid pass there, and Goobs is, rather than, I don't know where you were before that, but so you're here. So instead of flipping straight back in that, if you kind of go like this way, you're going to end up kind of where K9 is, and kind of facing the same way that K9 is.
That makes sense.
You're going to be in that spot when that hit comes across. And even if if you don't feel like you can beat Drax, it's a lot easier for you to read the ball if you're there than if you're where you're at now.
That makes sense.
Because I mean, it's not an open net, but it's because you didn't have anybody challenging them. It's for all intents and purposes, it's an open net.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty
Oh yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, they messed up hard there.
Yeah.
So
I should have probably rotated back, and K9 should have stayed up. I think that's that. Am I understanding that correctly?
yeah. I mean, I think if you, so I mean, Peach could get a really big clear here. So if you stay kind of like here,
Mm-hmm.
Especially because K9 needs boost because he just went for the kickoff.
That makes sense. Oh yeah, this is up to go.
He's far enough back instead of being up there. He's far enough back to where if Peach does get a really big clear over you, he'll be back in time and you'll be back behind him because you'll be going that way and he'll be in front of you eventually.
That makes sense.
And he's also far enough back and out of the play to not double commit you when. So like if you're waiting here for Peach to miss, and you can kind of tell that he's gonna miss at like there because he starts like going backwards.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he's not going up anymore. He's trying to correct himself. And so if Peach touches that, even if he did touch it, it's going
Up.
straight up. And because if he does touch it, if you're farther back, it's probably going to roll off the top of the wall rather than going straight down. And so you being farther back would put you in a better spot to score it than if you're up close if he does touch it. And then you're also close. If you're here reading that he's missing it, you're also close enough to be able to do what you just did there anyway, because they're not anywhere near the net. And you also could get a better shot because you're not like. Oh, you're basically almost like panic jumping that, oh shit, he missed, I can take a shot, right?
Yeah.
Shit, I got really far out. So you could have been farther back and had more time to take a cleaner shot. That was a good play. That was a rough kickoff to do something with, so you did pretty good there. And this is one of those situations where even if Lapras was more here, this is definitely Goob's ball to challenge, which is what he did there.
Mhm.
Rather than if Lapras would have come across and cut. Because if Lapras comes across and cuts, first of all, there's nobody here anymore. And also because it was a small pass, you're going to end up double committing, most likely, because Goobs isn't going to see you coming across.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That was a good quick challenge. Even though he beat you, you forced him to give it away.
Mhm.
It was just you misreading the wall, which happens sometimes. Yeah, I mean,
I have no idea what the fuck I was doing.
I mean, it's not something that happens sometimes. You make mistakes. There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not really that big of a deal.
Oh, I remember that touch too.
Oh, big lift.
See, that's also like what I'm talking about, where if you don't have the guy that's like the third man to cut across and challenge that ball, you're like pre-jumping. You're hoping that, and even here, I don't. It's not bad that you went into net here, but I think you need to challenge. I think it would be, rather than you slowing down and kind of going in. I don't know if you had boost or not, but rather than like, you kind of slow down here a little bit to get into the net.
Okay.
If you just maintain speed,
Mm-hmm.
you probably could have at the very least gotten a 50 with Drex. I think you could have beaten him, honestly, if you came across and as soon as you saw Goob was missing, if you just like,
Okay.
if you had a little bit of boost and you sped across, you probably could have read that quicker than Drax could get there.
Okay, makes sense.
This is another spot where oops, I went too far back. Where it would help to have your third man not going straight back to net, because then K9 has somebody to pass to. Because here you don't have much of a choice. You have to do something with the ball here, right? Because Drax is also going for it. But
You got a really good touch there. No, it's a
because Peach is waiting for it. If you could do anything to pass it to Goobs, or even if you, because you see Drax misses, if you like, I don't know. I don't want to say that you let.
I think it was far enough off to the wall where I had to either touch it right wall or straight out or let it go.
Yeah, there's.
I think it was far enough out that I couldn't, because it went up and then out off the ceiling.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you are gonna just give it, because Peach is reading the play really well. He's not like, he's staying back.
It may have been better to bang it off a right wall and
it might have been. But the other thing that would happen is if you had Goobs here and kind of facing up, because you see that you're getting a clear, he could challenge Peach.
Right.
Over there, right? Rather than waiting for Peach to boom it back. That was a hell of a shot.
Thank you.
Bang.
Yeah.
Big bending. Oh, controller, you see there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh, I pushed up too close there. I also didn't get a best touch. I didn't get a touch there.
Yeah, that's a rough like play to make. It all is because
I was too close.
Lapras gets a little bit of a weird touch, and then I don't know that you're really that close. You just have to, I would say, either don't go or commit all the way, because you tend, and it's another thing where, like I was talking to Lapras about, not going on the wall when you're going to challenge the ball. You want to jump and try to like pinch it with the wall, almost like put your car
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. Instead of doing what you're going up the wall to challenge, because if you're here, and like say you're here, if you like jump up the wall to hit it like there, you could beat him rather than if you're going up here because then you have to like read the wall, the ball bouncing up the corner and everything like that.
Makes sense.
And then here, because it was a really weird hit, Cannon doesn't know whether it's gonna get all the way to the corner or what. I think what you could do. I guess obviously you didn't have that much boost because you picked up a few pads.
I grabbed 2 pads and then I think I went straight for the 100. Yeah, I grabbed the same pad over twice.
Which is fine. I think as soon as you notice that the ball's it's not going to get to the wall, you should get off the wall and try to go and cover mid.
Right. See, that's what I knew he was going to bang it off the wall. That's why I came back towards
yeah. That was actually a pretty good cut from Goobs there. It's hard for me to tell you not to go.
Yeah.
I was beating Peach to that too, though. That's why I did that.
Yeah.
100%.
The only thing is because you have to either like communicate it quick. It puts you in a really awkward spot because of whatever happened over here, right? It's not. You guys aren't necessarily making the mistakes here, even though it might look like it. Like that's where the problem started. This is just it's like the reaction to what happened when the ball was kind of awkwardly hit over there.
That makes sense.
And so it's just a kind of an unfortunate thing that you both ended up having to be there and then committed, and Lapras was a little bit too far away. You guys got to talk about who's going for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Lapras kind of freezes, which is understandable because Goobs is cutting across, and then Goobs kind of freezes because he's thinking that Lapras is going to go, and then nobody goes, and then you just get beat, and then you're both on the wall, and so it's gonna. You got a good hit there, but that's another like. If they're reading it enough, because you think so. Drax could easily have. I mean, I guess he might. I don't know if you're gonna bang a shot there, but if he turns around a little bit, like to be there-ish, kind of facing his own net, or his like near post, so like facing like that way, he could probably cut off that between you and K9 before K9 gets there. And it would be an open net for them. So it ended up working out, but it's a risky situation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's like that was the right way to rotate across. I think you should just go a little bit wider.
Okay.
To give Goobs a little bit more room, so you don't end up bumping into him here.
Okay.
If you kind of like, you don't even like. What you could do there, I guess you didn't have boost, but you could like, and both their corners are down, which is a little bit unfortunate. But you could kind of rotate and grab like these kind of pads here, and then you don't even need to go grab that corner.
Yeah.
And then you're also far enough forward that you're not going to get in your teammate's way trying to shoot the ball. and you're also close enough to potentially go and bump or be a distraction to the other team.
Yeah.
Big whiff.
What did you say?
Oh, I said big whiff.
Oh,
I missed the ball pretty badly there.
yeah. But I mean, it shouldn't be the end of the world because you bumped him there, and because he was rotating across you. But you're technically the first man, so you should be thinking that you should have all the power to go for the ball, because you're thinking that you have either both teammates behind you covering you, or at least one.
That makes sense, yeah.
And I know why Lapras does that, because he wants the boost.
Yeah.
I think, and I know for a fact that I've done that a lot, and it's gotten me scored on. But if you notice that you missed the boost, I would just go keep your momentum and either grab the pads, like this kind of thing almost, or go all the way back for your corner, rather than trying to turn around. And because you have to stop basically to turn around, and you're in a bad spot.
And goal explosion is so cool.
I'm gonna keep saying the same thing, I guess. But if you had been more, because first of all, there's nobody on their team that's over here. So if Goobs could get the ball out to you like he does, and if you were, so you're coming back, and instead of going there, you kind of slowly go back here to that boost-ish, or more horizontal. I'm trying to think of a way to explain that.
No, I know what you mean.
There's a certain you kind of you don't want to be perfectly this way, because then you're both too close to your net to cover a bounce off your own backboard, but you're also a little bit too far away from a mid pass if it's a closer mid pass, or if it's a farther up midfield. So obviously you want to be moving, so it's not the end of the world. So you could curve around and do that. So but you either take into a wider rotation, or a sharper one would be better to kind of cover. I would say you could take a sharper one, because their guy isn't over here where he probably should be.
Okay.
And then because you're here, you'd be there I could see you kind of turning around a little bit, because Kenai gets a little bit antsy. You don't need to be pushing out yet, because as soon as you do that, then it's kind of necessary for Lapras to hang out in net, because you have two people in your own corner now. So if you can avoid it, I would say to kind of freeze at your own corner, or your own. Not your corner. Your post.
Right.
And kind of wait and see what happens, and then once you see that Goobs gets it out mid, that's when you kind of do what you are doing there, and it would be more of that kind of rotation.
Okay.
And then obviously Lapras would have been mid for a pass.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I think I was kind of too far out there on the side.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's awkward. I think you're lucky that your canine spawned on that side because I think you would get
Yeah.
scored on otherwise.
Yeah.
You're kind of last back here, Lapras.
Yeah.
And you know your teammate's going to spawn behind you, but you got to be a little bit more careful
Okay.
about what you're doing because you can't just full on challenge him because he has you beat by a mile.
Yeah.
So I would say probably just wait, and then if he catches it, then you go challenge because then you know your teammate's going to already spawn.
Okay.
But if he booms it, then you're waiting. Then you're far enough back to make the play.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you push it up, all he has to do is just hit it where you're not. And if K9 were to spawn on that side, he might be able to get there, but it's like a race between him and the ball to get back to net.
Okay.
That was a good play, actually. Especially, like, that was a good position from Lapras. The only thing is, I think, Goobs, you got to be
Yeah.
getting back a little bit quicker. I know there wasn't boost there, which is unfortunate. But that's just... And you did fine because you got back in time and you picked up enough pads to make the play. So it's not the end of the world because you didn't... you guys didn't get scored on. It's just... You do have to... This is one of those potential situations where you're getting a little too over-aggressive. Because, like, so Goobs should say that, like, as soon as he goes for this, you see, like, he's commented that I have no boost. And so Lapras being, at the moment, last back, even though you're mid,
Yeah.
you have to think about it a little bit more, whether you should challenge or wait for them to... Because if you're waiting mid, rather than jumping at them, and you're down by 2 with a minute left, so it's you're right and wrong both ways, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
There's reasons to go and reasons to stay back.
Yeah.
But you just have to, in general, in those kinds of situations, you have to be a little bit careful and think about whether this is one that I can risk going for, because I can get a good enough touch, or even if I don't, my teammate is in a decent enough spot to be able to get back, like he is here. He's not in a perfect spot, but he's already on his way back, and he has... if they hit it on net, you're kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in as good of a spot as he can be in, and you're down by 2, so it's probably better that you try to go for it and shoot it.
Okay.
But that's just something to keep in mind when you're on offense.
Yeah.
To just be a little bit careful when your teammates have no boost.
Yeah.
Even if it is your turn to go for the ball, you want to just make sure that when you go for the ball, you're either getting a good touch or you're not going to put your teammates in a bad spot if you get a bad touch or miss it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I keep saying the same things. But I guess it's a little bit of a different situation. I would say for K9, I actually don't know if that boost is there or not, if it's invisible for me. No, it's not there. Okay. I wouldn't go
Stopped, yeah.
to the right side of the field there. I'd kind of make a little loop here and pick up some pads.
All right.
Because Lapras is pushing up, and you're potentially going to get a goal anyway if Goobs gets a flick. But if he doesn't, Lapras is there, and then you need to be back as third man.
Right.
And especially, it's hard to know because it's kind of depends on what happens with the flick here, about how far you back you need to be. but because he gets a flick off the backboard and it's not strong enough for Lapras to beat Peach, it's even worse that you're not farther back, because then Peach has a really, really big clear that gets past everybody. And then I think, and then even here you could take your time a little bit more, because Peach isn't going. You don't have to like panic and go for it right away. But I mean, you're down by 3 with 30 seconds left, so it's
Yeah, we were probably playing.
rotations generally. It'd be more important if you were down by 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Because in that case you don't want to panic until it's like 10 seconds left, and then you want to like full commit with everybody. But if you're down like by 3 or something with 30 seconds left, you're probably going to lose anyway. But your only chance is to kind of go
I'm sure
all
the
out.
last 30
Yeah.
seconds we were probably just throwing our fucking card.
Yeah,
around.
it's
Yeah.
the rotations don't matter as much, but it is important that even if you're losing with a like little time remaining, if it's only by 1, you don't want to get antsy. You don't want to get like feel like, oh, I have to score now.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna get you scored on more,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You have enough time to play the game as if you were tied still. Like, you have more time than you think to do that. Like, you don't have to start panicking at like 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
You just, when you want to take your time and play it as normally rather than as if you're down.
Okay.
All right, is that it then? I guess.
That's both the replays I gave you.
Sweet.
Probably just get buffed out with us playing more together, because yesterday was the first time we had all played.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of that can get buffed out. It's just playing together.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I hope that all helps a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, that was
Yeah, that did.
helped
Appreciate you taking your time out, man.
clearing up a lot of confusion, stuff like that.
It even
Um,
helped me, and I didn't.
No, but that was extremely helpful. That was like, that helped a lot, kind of just like conceptually on where I should like, especially like I know I had a lot of problems rotating back and as a third guy and not kind of covering that mid pass
Mhm.
very well. I think that would help. That helped a lot,
Okay.
Yeah.
and I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome.
Cool.
Sweet. Okay. Well, I'm gonna hop out a little bit, but I guess
Okay.
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. See
All
ya.
right, thank you,
Thank
Seb.
you.
I appreciate it.